What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Corner Office. Today we're joined by Jeffrey Babin, Professor of Engineering Entrepreneurship at the University of Pennsylvania, and he's also the Managing Director of Antiphony Partners, a boutique consulting firm that advises companies on strategy and innovation. Jeffrey, how are you today?
Good, thanks. Glad to be here.
We're very glad to have you here. Now, Jeffrey, it sounds like you've got a ton of experience both with working with startups as well as your own company.
I do. So my primary role at the university is Professor of Engineering Entrepreneurship, but I also work with Penn Wharton Entrepreneurship's Venture Initiation Program. So in the university, I teach in the classroom principles of engineering entrepreneurship, and then work with as many student startups as we can cultivate and get started on campus. And then outside, and the way that I bill it is really innovation from the dorm room to the boardroom. So in the university, I'm really focused on engineering entrepreneurship and student startups. And then outside, bringing a lot of the principles of innovation that we teach in the classroom into larger companies that are looking to create some innovation programs or learn some of the practices that we teach in engineering entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Now that segues very nicely into our first question. So you work with startups. I'm curious, how can some startup companies from day one, from their inception, implement and encourage innovation in the way they think and operate?
So I think by nature, a startup is innovation. You might have an entrepreneur that comes up with an idea based on the job that they have or the company that they're working for, something they want to do that may not fit with their job. You might have a student that just sees something or learns something in classroom and then they say, hey, could I apply this to something else? So I think innovation is part and parcel of what a startup is about. And their exploration process is really what innovation is about. How are they understanding what the product or service offering they're interested in and who they're going to sell to, which is at the heart and soul of innovation.
Awesome. Now, Jeffrey, prior to coming to Formcraft, I worked at Comcast Business.
Mm-hmm.
How does a company as large as Comcast, of that size and scope, stay innovative when there's a lot of smaller companies who are more nimble, try to come in and disrupt their business model?
Well, I think Comcast is a great example of a company that really has several different innovation initiatives and efforts. And so I think one of the things that you can do is just continue to cultivate, whether it's in your employee base or examining what's going on in the marketplace, just never resting on what's current, because it's going to change. And so you have to keep an eye on what's changing, what's going on in your industry, whether it's cable, whether it's entertainment, and looking for how you're going to implement changes that are consistent with what you're trying to accomplish. I think where large companies that don't do such a good job at innovation is they like it as a buzzword, they want to wave the banner for innovation, but they're actually not adopting it as a process.
They're not taking action on that.
They're not taking action.
Okay.
They might do idea competitions and brainstorming sessions, but innovation is tough. It's a process. You have to come up with an idea. You have to see if that idea can be formulated into a product or service that somebody actually cares about. You have to make the economics work. And I think a lot of times companies, the easy thing to do is say, let's do some competitions and come up with ideas, and might do a good job of celebrating that, but actually turning that into something.
Executing on the idea.
Executing.
Got it.
Is a big part of innovation process.
Now, I'm sure there's a point where too much innovation is too much innovation. You're innovating so much that you're losing your company in the process. How do you know when you're crossing that line of too much innovation?
I don't know if it's so much too much innovation. I think it's more, are you being efficient in the activities that are designed to create innovation? So if you're doing idea generations, what are you doing with the outcome of that? Are you taking ideas? Are you evaluating them? Are you filtering them? Are you allowing small teams to investigate them further, all the while prioritizing so that you're actually executing and delivering on something? That, I think, is where companies go wrong. A lot of time, energy, and resources spent on the front end of the process, but not as much on seeing it through. Or the other place where I think companies can go off the rails a little bit in innovation is they may come up with a great idea and they immediately start applying the metrics that they would for their core business to that idea. And so I think the good companies, and Comcast is a good example, they'll look for ways that they can say, let's have a small team investigate this outside of our core business, and let's look for ways that our core business can actually help those startups or these initiations, rather than coming in and just kind of crushing them under the weight of standard practices.
Awesome. Now, here on the Corner Office, Matt and I like to put our guests to the test. So we have a hypothetical question for you. So the year is 2017, Jeffrey, and congratulations. You've just been appointed the Chief Innovation Officer at AC Moore.
Oof,
A little bit of a tough ask, but we'd like you to come up with some ways to help save the company from its financial troubles.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. All right, so one of the things that I think is important, two things, okay? The first is, what is core to the company? What do you do really well? And I think AC Moore had a great ability to take advantage of this movement and sort of crafting and what was going on, and I think that was big. The question becomes, what's changed in the world around you in crafting, and what might you not be taking advantage of? And so I think if you look at the AC Moore concept, it's very much focused in a traditional brick and mortar retail. We're going to build stores. We're going to just try to drive traffic to the stores. We're going to use traditional advertising and what have you. If you look at the world around us, crafting's huge, scrapbooking's huge, but it's probably growing faster and more interesting things happening in Etsy, right? Where you've got an entire online crafting organization company.
Right.
So one of the things that I would say is, okay, how are we coming up with new ways that we can cultivate crafting, but in different channels and different media, but take advantage of some of the resources that we have? So I think in AC Moore's case, it's what was the online strategy, and how do you continue to capitalize on the opportunity that is the crafting movement in both sometimes we refer to it as bricks and clicks, where you've got the brick and mortar place as well as the online presence. Now, it's difficult, and I think this is an important part of innovation in general. It's really difficult to come in and say, okay, let's fix this right now.
Right.
But I think one of the things that you need to do is streamline so that you're putting your resources in the most efficient way, and taking advantage of new opportunities.
They should have called you up.
Nah, it's larger companies like that work within their culture and needs, and I think that's the advisory nature of what we like to do, is say, hey, let's take what you're doing really well now and look for some ways that you can embrace the principles of innovation.
Now, in your experience, Jeffrey, when a company is so old and so ingrained in their culture, is it difficult for them to start becoming innovative, or for them to, for the top level management to say, okay, now we're going to open up our minds or change in this kind of significant way?
I don't think a company that achieves some level of success, it has to be it is innovative.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have gotten where it is unless it already created some innovation and capitalized on some opportunities.
Right.
So the question becomes, and some of the classic academic literature, is the companies that get disrupted are the ones that were doing things really well.
Right.
And I think what we try to do is encourage companies to say, no matter what you're doing well, make sure you're taking some resources that are not just focused on quarterly earnings and profitability and bottom line of your core business, but take some resources and investigate what else you might be doing that fits, but is taking advantage of the changes in the market. Because the one thing we know for sure, things will change.
That's for sure. And that's the nature of life as well, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, now we reached our favorite part of the show, where our guest poses the question of the day to the audience. So fire away, Jeffrey.
All right, so one of the things that I think is critical for innovators and entrepreneurs to think about is not just the idea, but it's what is the best way that you can gather information about the market. So I pose to the listeners or the people that are watching this, what have you done today to figure out if your market's interested in what you're pitching?
Awesome.
Awesome question. Awesome question. Thank you so much for coming on an episode of The Corner Office. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If there's anybody that you want to get on the show, an entrepreneur, a CEO, a engineering professor of innovation at University of Pennsylvania, let us know in the comment section below. Ruhan and I will make it happen. Look out for videos every Wednesday. Thanks for watching, guys.